the age of 15, my sister and I were going out to collect paper money on a bicycle built for two. And you can imagine myself as a young 15-year-old in the pictures. I was active, I was healthy, carefree, looking forward to a future as possibly a phys ed teacher or a radio broadcaster, I wasn't sure. But in a split second, a very split second, my life and the people's life around me changed forever. One evening in October, when as I said, my sister and I were going on a bicycle built for two. We were heading down the hill, and unfortunately, halfway down that hill, we lost the brakes on the bike, and I was driving. And fortunately, I was able to swerve to miss from hitting a car. But unfortunately, that night, my life would change forever as my bike went headfirst into the ditch, and in an instant, my neck was broken, and I suffered a spinal cord injury. All of a sudden, my life would have changed forever. I had no movement in my arms or my legs. I had no sensitivity below my chest. Just imagine what that could do to a 15-year-old boy. But I don't want to talk about the bad things or the negative things today. I want to talk about the positive things. I mean, you think being in a wheelchair or needing to use a wheelchair is all bad, but it's not all bad. I mean, I don't have to wait in the lines at Disney World, and I get great parking. As you can imagine, at such a young age, I had to overcome many barriers, being paralyzed and having to change the way I do a lot of things within my life. My very first bout with really the medical system was after having my accident and having to go through some of the challenges of the rehabilitation process. With that type of diagnosis, I had to learn many new things, how to live my life differently. I had to deal with learning how to use a wheelchair, learning how to use different technology like voice recognition software to allow me to be able to live a normal and independent life. Getting back into the community, moving back home to where my family was probably my rock and my support. So having that change in my life was a big, big step for me. Luckily, I was able to have very good support around me, and I was able to, as Dexter said, persevere and move forward. I was very lucky. My parents and my family were very advocates for me here in Halifax. My mom advocating me to be able to go back to high school with the peers who I grew up with. And luckily, I was able to complete high school and had a successful 3 years there and was able to figure out who I was and where I wanted to go. The next part of my adventure took me to St. Mary's University, where I decided to study at post-secondary. Now, I know I'm here at Dal and all that stuff, but I mean, at that time, St. Mary's was one of the only educational institutes that really could support someone with the requirements I need. The accessibility was top in the province. There was a support center there for persons with disabilities that could provide me the supports I needed to be successful. So I ventured into a Bachelor of Commerce degree and majored in small business management. And after those 5 years of studying, I was able to graduate. And really, at that time, deciding what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I mean, I had a business degree in small business management. I wanted to own my own business. I think if there's any bankers in the rooms right there, a 23-year-old guy just finishing university asking for $1 million to start a business. Didn't go too well. But I didn't let that let me down. I really pushed forward and tried to stay positive. And luckily, I was very fortunate in someone provided me an opportunity. The same organization that provided me the supports and supports and services that I needed to be successful at post-secondary, that government agency gave me a chance. They hired me as a summer program coordinator for a wage subsidy for persons with disabilities. And the ability to get that experience and move forward has been just unbelievable. And to this day, I still am able, after 13 years later, to say that I'm still working there and still helping with supports for students with disabilities who decide to study with post-secondary. And currently, we have almost 2,000 students with various disabilities all across the province and across this country out there learning the skills so that they can be employable. And it allows me every day, I feel positive and feel confident that I have a say or a help from my own personal experiences and my employment experience to help them be successful. Now, all of these things that I've been talking about have been really stepping stones to where I am today. Because of the opportunities and the supports and services that were put in place for myself, has opened doors in so many ways what I could never imagined. I kind of often joke with my friends and family that I feel reborn, that this was meant to be for me, and I can't imagine going any other way. The opportunities of traveling have been amazing for me. I've traveled all over the world and get to experience so many different places and be able to meet so many different people who I can let them know that persons with disabilities can still do things. We can still move forward and travel and do the fun things that we want to do if the opportunities are put in place. In 2006, I ventured my experience in the world of sailing. You can see in the picture there, that was my first event. I had never sailed before in my entire life. But a friend of mine, Paul Tingley, who's a gold medalist sailor, said, you should go to Vancouver and try this. You'll enjoy it. So I took the leap of faith and trusted in other people. And honest to God, it had changed my life. To this day, I'm now the president of Sail Able Association, a nonprofit organization that provides supports and services for persons with disabilities who want to be able to go sailing, who wants that opportunity, that support. And that has been a whole nother chapter in my life. And you can see, not only did I enjoy the recreation part of sailing, I got competitive, really competitive, to the point that I bought my own sailboat. Now, you could say it was a midlife crisis, but I purchased my own sailboat. You can see in some of the pictures there, I've had the opportunity to sail across Canada around to compete on a national level. And those opportunities of meeting people and doing those things have opened vast possibilities for me. And I really think the future is further on. I've gone skiing, downhill skiing. I mean, any type of adventures that I can possibly do or opportunities that are out there, I'm willing to give them a try to make sure that I can live life to my fullest. Now, a lot of the things that I talk about in my talk really wouldn't be possible without accessibility, and I really want to focus on accessibility and inclusion in my talk and how important it is, not just for persons with disabilities, but for the community and the world as a whole. It opens opportunities. I talked about my educational opportunities that it opened up, my employment opportunities, and some of the recreation and leisure events that I've been able to do. Those opportunities wouldn't have been possible unless I had an accessible environment to do those in, unless I was able to get on an airplane, unless I was able to get on a ride at Disney World, get on a go-kart. Any of those things that are possible and are available to me have just vastly improved the experiences with me. We talk about universal design, and maybe you've not heard the term, but universal design is making a world that's universal, that works for everybody with all abilities or whatever requirements one might need. And when we help everyone, we make our world more accessible to everyone, I feel it's a win-win. And I can be a personal experience and show that through personal experience and perseverance that it can help. It improves the quality of life in so many different ways. It improves my self-confidence, my self-esteem. My health is better. I'm more healthy. I'm able to be active. I'm out in the community. But most important, I think, and what it really feels for me, is it allows me to live independently. And I can't stress how much that independence means to an individual. You'll never know until it's taken away from you how much someone's independence means to their life. And because I have all these things in place, I can live on my own independently. I can travel independently to the places that I want to travel. I can meet the people I want to meet. I can do the things I want to do. And those experiences have just fulfilled my life so much. You can see in the sailing pictures there, I mean, I've been able to do some amazing things in that sailboat, and I always tell people that for me, being in that sailboat, controlling where I'm sailing that sailboat, is really the only other time other than in my wheelchair that I really have control of where I'm going or where I want to move to. And that feeling is empowering. And I think if you were able to experience what that's like, you can really understand what I mean. But I want to finish off talking about some of the importance of accessibility. The biggest thing that we have to overcome, I think, and I say this wholeheartedly, is changing attitudes. And I think that's what TED Talks are all about. It's an attitudinal change in our environment, in our communities, that has to happen for all this to be put in place. Yeah, it's helped me, but there's many individuals out there that need that help, need that push, need that support. And once we start changing attitudes and people's perceptions on how people do things differently, our communities, our towns, our cities, our world will be a better place for everybody. And that's really what I want to continue push forward to, and change that knowledge that this world can be accessible to everyone if we all put our collective thoughts and ideas together to make it happen. So thank you very much for listening to me.